What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're ready to maybe freak out a little bit. It's been kind of nice, honestly, from that angle as a Dallas Cowboys fan this offseason. No real drama, nothing really to kind of speak of to freak us out or scare us. That changed a little bit on Wednesday morning. Today is, in fact, Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. A very happy hump day to you. It's a busy time around here at Blogging the Boys with the Dallas Cowboys starting training camp 1 week from today. Obviously, that is very exciting. We'll have you covered, so make sure to subscribe right here. We had our roundtable discussion on Tuesday evening here. We had an episode of the NFC East mixtape drop earlier this morning, and I had to jump on and record this video because there is some, I guess, breaking news. Let's go ahead and get right to it. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported on Wednesday, as we wrote down here for you morning, that Cowboys guard Zack Martin is considering not reporting to training camp due to unhappiness with his contract situation. So this is obviously not great, right? Like, let's kind of walk through this. Let's process this together. Not great, not good, not ideal. You don't want this happening in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, it's been a drama-free offseason for the Cowboys. And while I think this does register on the drama scale, right? Like if it's like a whatever the sound of measurement thing that measures like sound or whatever, like at NFL stadiums. I don't know. I've gotten lost in the analogy. This is a little bit of drama, right? Like it is. I don't think it's worth like freaking out. I don't think it's worth smashing the panic button. But I think what exacerbates this issue in our mind, and we'll get to the Zack Martin, kind of particulars in just a moment, but what exacerbates this issue is we've talked about this a lot. In fact, I mentioned the roundtable. We brought this up then. The Cowboys have different contract situations to tend to. They have to work on an extension for Dak Prescott if they want to save money and take care of him in the future. Trayvon Diggs is entering the final year of his contract. He will be an undrafted free agent next year. This is the final year of Terrence Steele's deal. We didn't even really talk about Tony Pollard, who now we know obviously will officially play on the franchise tag because Monday's deadline came and went. So if the Cowboys do want to get a long-term deal done with Pollard, you put him into that mix. Tyler Biadasz is entering the final year of his deal. And while CeeDee Lamb is not entering the final year of his deal, he is eligible for an extension. He is one of the best receivers in the NFL. He is one of the core pieces of this nucleus the Cowboys have going on that we all are hopeful is going to help them contend for the foreseeable future. And the wide receiver market continues to balloon and balloon and balloon. And you want to beat, obviously, Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings and Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals to the punch. So you got all this kind of going on, right? And so now Zack Martin comes up and says, I want my piece too. And I don't know how anybody can argue against Zack Martin. And honestly, good for Zack. Zack has never been one to really do anything like this. He's been relatively chill for his entire Dallas Cowboys career. But the important thing, the much more important thing, is that he has been absolutely amazing for his entire Dallas Cowboys career. The Cowboys drafted Zack Martin 9 years ago, which means this obviously will be his 10th season in the NFL. He has only not been an all-pro, whether first or second team or Pro Bowler, once. One single time. I mean, we're talking, that's amazing, right? Just one time in 8 years that Zack Martin has not been a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro of some kind. That one time was in 2020, which was a lost season for the Cowboys in many respects when he missed a lot of time due to injury. The only time that has really happened to him so far throughout his career. He is, I think, by most measurements, the best guard in the NFL. In fact, I mentioned the recent episode of the NFC East mixtape. We did an all-defense team within the division, Brandon Gouton and I. Last week, we did an all-offensive edition, and when we got to the right guard, it wasn't even a question, right? It's Zack Martin, right? Like, it is so kind of open, shut, conversation when you talk about guards in the NFL. You can make a very strong argument that he's not only the best guard in the NFL, but the best interior lineman, period, right? Like, that goes a long way. In fact, recently, ESPN, I know you've seen it in different, sort of places. They've been, releasing their executives and coaches and scout rankings and how they kind of rank different position groups. Zack Martin literally was ranked as the best interior lineman in the NFL. So his leverage, his negotiating power, all of that is as hot as it has ever been. And I would argue that the Cowboys' leverage is maybe as low as it's ever been, given the amount of contracts that they have to tend to that aren't Zack Martin. So the Cowboys are kind of in a position of weakness here. It makes all the sense in the world to kind of get this thing done with Zack, but obviously that's a lot easier said than done. Now, it is worth mentioning that we have talked about both Martin and Prescott as players for the Cowboys seemingly, now that we know this news with Zack Martin, would have to tend to and take care of with regards to new contracts, right? Well, both of those players, Dak Prescott and Zack Martin, did restructure their deals this offseason to help the team out, to alleviate some salary cap space. So they also have that feather in their cap. there's a lot here, which is why we kind of had to have this discussion. Now, one of the things in Adam Schefter's report, he characterized Zack Martin's position as feeling woefully underpaid relative to the market. Those are Zack Martin's feelings, sort of through the prism of Adam Schefter. If you look at Schefter's report and Schefter's tweet, that is the verbiage that he used. If we take a look at the specific market in question, we're looking at right guards here via Over the Cap. Thank you very much to them. They are the best when it comes to tracking, obviously, salary information in the NFL. Zack Martin is amazing. I mean, we don't have to relitigate this and say it a million different times. If you care about the annual average value, annual average payment, however you want to put it, if you look at it from that perspective, Zack Martin is only, I use that word loosely, only making $14 million per year. There are three right guards making more than him, just on an annual average value. Now, again, this is one of those things, people talk about this a lot. This analogy is used a lot when you talk about especially quarterback contracts, right? It's kind of like a new car, right? It depreciates the moment that you drive it off the lot. That happens with any kind of contract, right? Like the moment you sign something, the moment it feels like it was an overpay. And the moments, the next moment, somebody's going to come in and top that, because that's just the way supply and demand goes. But these are right guards. I mentioned all interior alignment. Let's take a look at centers. So we know there are three right guards who make more than Zack, obviously, on an annual average value. Jason Kelce, widely regarded to be the best center in the NFL, does make more than him. He's obviously very close to retirement, kind of flirted with that this offseason as well, but does make more than Zack Martin. Again, he's on a one-year deal here in 2023 with the Eagles. Oh, it's not a one-year, whatever. Anyway, we're not worried about that. When we go to right or left guards, excuse me, I'm all confused with my directions. Quentin Nelson has kind of reset the market. You look at that $20 million a year figure. I would assume that's kind of what Zack Martin is after. Elton Jenkins at $17 million per year. Joel Bitonio at 16. Joe Thuney at 16. So you're talking about there are four left guards. All told, there are 9 interior offensive linemen. I think 8 actually. My math is off. You get my point. Who are making more money on an annual average value basis than Zack Martin. And the reason that's significant, again, is because you can make a very strong argument that Zack Martin is not only the best right guard in the NFL, but that he's just the best interior lineman, period. So you can make an argument within that he deserves $20 million a year. And I know what you're thinking, like, dude, I mean, we got to pay, Dak Prescott. It's going to get close to $50 million a year, right? That's just the market. CeeDee Lamb, we're talking about 25. It's going to be 30. I mean, Trayvon Diggs. I mean, like, everything adds up. And we talk about this all the time when it comes to contracts. And I mentioned this on the roundtable, the analogy of an hourglass and sand kind of ticking through it, right? If you think it's complicated right now, it is going to be so much more complicated next offseason when Micah Parsons is eligible for a contract for the first time. He's not. I mean, Micah Parsons, if you don't know that, if you're, maybe you don't concern yourself with those details of the NFL players cannot negotiate a new deal until after 3 years of service. Micah Parsons obviously only has 2. So no matter what Micah Parsons' worth is, and you can't measure that, obviously, no matter how true that is, he cannot negotiate a new deal with the Cowboys until next offseason, which is why we're kind of, anticipating that and preparing for that. And the Cowboys would be smart to do that themselves. So while this is a no-brainer, while it makes sense, pay him, like, totally. I mean, there's no argument here. He is the best guard in the NFL. You absolutely have to pay him. It is a bit complicated because you have to budget for all these things and everything involved. And I think we're all a bit on edge because this is sort of rare. This is sort of a new thing. Zack Martin doesn't necessarily or hasn't really ever done anything like this throughout his career with the Cowboys. He's not, a dramatic guy, like I mentioned. He did not participate during OTAs, for what it's worth. If you're kind of wondering if this did come out of nowhere, we put this tweet up from John Machota of The Athletic. When Zack Martin was asked about it, he said he was dealing with a minor soft tissue injury and his quote, just being smart, making sure I got to training camp feeling good, ready to rock. Now, I don't want to dissect every single element of this and every single word, and I don't want to do the well, it seemed like he was getting ready for camp then, what changed, blah blah blah. That's not my goal here, but that is what he said, so just so we all have the context. But if we do want to kind of dive into things a little bit, this is something that I found to be interesting, and whether or not you agree, I hope you do, because I hope that I entertain you. But if you don't follow Zack Martin on social media, you might not know it because he is not necessarily an active person on social media. He has Twitter, he has Instagram. I don't know about Threads. Not sure what the situation is there. I would assume he doesn't have TikTok. I've never found him at least. But either way, on Tuesday, today is Wednesday. The day of the news is Wednesday. But on Tuesday, Zack Martin was suddenly incredibly active. I mean, just like incredibly active. And I use that relatively speaking, right? Like he didn't fire off 100 tweets. I don't know if he's rate limited or whatever. But I mean, relative to who Zack Martin has been on social media forever, he was very, very, very active. In fact, on Tuesday, Zack Martin tweeted out a ranking of himself. There have been a lot of those lately, as we've kind of discussed so far here today. He tweeted out a ranking of himself, and within the ranking, KD Drummond of the Cowboys Wire referenced SpongeBob and made a SpongeBob analogy with Zack Martin's play with the "he don't miss" meme and stuff like that. It was really funny. Great job, KD. And Zack Martin kind of tweeted about that and was just like, "That's really funny, the SpongeBob meme, whatever." And when I saw that, I was kind of like, "This is really Zack Martin?" You know, like I was so confused because he doesn't tweet that often, right? And in fact, I was curious how long it had been since he had tweeted. I brought this up on Tuesday's roundtable. If you watched it, if you didn't, wow, my feelings are hurt. That was the first time on Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. That was the first time that Zack Martin had tweeted organically, as in not a retweet. It was the first time he had tweeted organically since March of 2020. That day in March of 2020, Zack released a statement about the retirement of Travis Frederick, thanking him. Obviously, the two were very close throughout their careers together. And so my point is like, man, this dude doesn't tweet ever. And all of a sudden he just shows up, right? Like after an over 3-year absence on Twitter. He was also very active on social media, both on Twitter and social media. He was sharing a post from the Cowboys Pro Shop, promoting some jersey sales that they were doing of his. It was very cool. On Instagram, he mentioned to be tagged, or if you had bought a jersey, to tag him, something like that. I mean, again, it felt like this flurry of activity relative to what we had kind of seen from Zack Martin over at least the last 3 years. I think you catch my drift at this point. And after this news came out, that this news being the potential holdout, all the contract stuff, training camp, blah, blah, I would say about 30 minutes after in real time, this happened. Zack Martin changed his profile picture on Twitter and Instagram. Once again, don't know about Threads or TikTok, but he changed his profile picture on Twitter and Instagram to his Madden rating. Again, it's the time of year for lists and things like that. And another sequence of lists that has been coming out has been Madden and their ratings. They have slowly been revealing different ratings for different players. And on Wednesday morning, it was revealed that Zack Martin is in the 99 club. If you aren't familiar with that, that just means that he is a 99 overall, the best possible rating that you can have in Madden, which is obviously an indication of how good of an NFL player you are, right? Like those things make sense. But again, this doesn't feel like a coincidence. I'm not accusing Zack Martin of like stirring the pot and being super dramatic, but it does feel very strange that all of a sudden we got this, again, relative to who he's been, onslaught of social media activity. Then the report about him potentially holding out, then the adjustment in profile picture. It seems like, especially, I want to put this up again here. The quote that Schefter had was woefully. How many times have you used the word woefully in your life? Woefully underpaid relative to the market. My point here, and not to make you feel dramatic or anything, my vibe on this is that it's a serious thing. It's not like a casual, I don't know, I'm thinking about it. Like this is, Zack Martin, and good for Zack. I mean, we talk about this all the time with all players. Good for Zack, maximizing his earning potential. He has to look out for himself. I don't blame him one bit. It makes all the sense in the world. He's got the Cowboys right where he wants them from a negotiating standpoint. It is their job to figure things out as a front office, and they have a lot of work to do. The Cowboys' first practice is 1 week from today, Wednesday, July 26th, and they will obviously arrive before that. They have a lot of work to do on the field, and they obviously have a lot of work to do off of the field when it comes to contract situations. So whatever happens, holy crap, I don't know, but we'll keep you updated as we always do here at Blogging the Boys. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please check out our website. We have an article obviously up on this. We have articles coming out all the time. We have a podcast network where you can listen to us discuss all sorts of things, every piece of news, every piece of analysis regarding the team. If you like what I do, You can do all those things, subscribe, read, whatever. But my name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. I am on Threads at RJ Ochoa. I am on TikTok, but somebody had RJ Ochoa, so I had to go with RJ.Ochoa. RJ.Ochoa is also my email, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. If you want to converse there, you can always leave a comment down below, and I'll do my best to get to those also. For now, let's hope that this gets resolved rather quickly. And hope that we're laughing about it in a SpongeBob sort of voice. Some point in the future. But thank you so much for hanging out. We will see you next time. We love you all, and go Cowboys.